All right. So what's up, guys? I know there's probably no one here yet because I just now went live and I don't put out notifications before I do. It's just spare the moment type of thing. You know, it's been so chapped lately. I drink freaking a lot of water and everything. I don't know what's going on. Guess I just gotta wear chapstick all day again. But yeah, so what I'll be doing here is answering your guys' questions about what you have for growing marijuana, whether it be growing autoflowers or growing photoperiods. How to grow big plants, how to grow a lot of smaller plants, how to get your yields, all that kind of good stuff. What I'm trying to do right now is see, because for some reason, let me see here. I think it's doing that thing again where the YouTube live thing, hopefully it'll show me I think it will. I think it'll show me let me see if I can see my own text as well. Testing. Hey, what's up, Samuel? Yeah, it looks like I can see one person so far. So yeah, go ahead and ask your questions away. What I'll talk about while people answer the questions is what's going to be happening. So one, a quick update on the plant that's been growing, the Critical Haze or Critical Novell Haze by Delicious Seeds. That plant is getting, it's now on day 64. I actually have a video right now that I need to update. So hopefully I'll get that updated here after I get off live, and then I'll go ahead and do that video. I just have to process it and stuff like that. Just take like an hour or so, then I can get it up on there, up on YouTube. But yeah, so that plant is done. We've been feeding it just cow mag and liquid seaweed, so it's ready to come down. Just got to get around to cutting her down. How dry is too dry for cocoa? So I would say that if the top starts to look like it's turning the lighter color that cocoa turns, that you need to water again. Usually, if you have a decent sized container for the plant, you can get away with watering once a day. But sometimes if the plant, has a really big root system for the pot size, it'll drink up all that, water really quickly. You might have to water twice a day. That's if you're watering by hand. If you're on a drip system, I recommend watering 3 times a day. So 2 times for just enough to keep the cocoa moist for like maybe 5 to 10 seconds. And then the third time, you gotta test this every day to figure out how much that third timing is to get runoff. Typically for me, it's right around 20 seconds. And that's coming right. That's not with drippers. That's coming right out of the 1/4-inch tubing, and that'll usually give me runoff. So you just got to make sure that third watering gives you runoff, and then that's how I do it. So Adam Stewart says, "Hey mate, where's the best time to start nutrients for autos?" I start at day 1. So if you haven't seen my method, check it out at perfectsunled.com. So check it out there. I have a free grow course where I talk about how I do everything. So how I do my seedlings. But once the seedlings come out of the I guess Ziploc bag that's inside the coffee filter, it has a nice taproot on it. I put that inside of the rock wool. I'll then either put the rock wool straight in cocoa, or I'll put the rock wool inside of a humidity dome until I start seeing roots. Either way works good. I prefer doing it inside the humidity dome. It gives you a much better, faster root growth. And then once one side is exploding, and from that day, by the way, I'm feeding it already. So once it goes to humidity dome, I'm feeding that rock wool cube about 200 to 300 ppms of nutrients. So that's how I do it. So right away from day 1. Day 1 meaning once I take it and put it inside the rock wool, that's when I start feeding it nutrients. And then Jesse Snader, I think that's how it's said. How do you feel about super cropping and flower around day 17? If it's an auto flower, I'm not going to do that. If I have to super crop an auto, like that's my last resort. If I have nothing else to do, and I'm like, okay, this branch is way too tall, my plant's going to burn, I need to get it shorter, then I'll super crop. That's an emergency thing, so I try not to super crop ever. But if I absolutely have to, that's when I'll do it before flower, or right at the beginning of flower, like right when you start seeing that stretch happening, right when you went to 12-12 and it starts stretching on you. That's usually when it gets away from you. Same thing with the photoperiod. I save super cropping for when I absolutely need it, when the plants is getting away from me. Like remember that grow I did in the bedroom with the what was that one, Carnival? That one got away from me, so I had to super crop a bunch of branches. Even then, it was still too tall. And another question here is swirly sugar leaves. If you mean like they're like curling and stuff, I don't know. Make sure your humidity is good. Make sure the environment in general is good. Your temperature is good. All that kind of stuff. Make sure they're getting enough CalMag. Caleb Harrison asked, how many plants can I grow with one perfect sunlight? Well, it depends which light and the grow style. So it's kind of a difficult question to answer. But if you're doing like the Perfect Sun Mini, I would just grow one good size 2.5 by 2.5 foot plant. You could do 4 smaller plants with that maybe, but you just got to think about the space. So it covers like at the max a 3 by 3 space. If you're doing the dwarf star, you can cover a max of 4 by 4, but I would do 3 by 3. Again, I would just grow one big plant, but you can get away with growing 4. If you're doing the Perfect Sun Max Yield or the Perfect Sun Mega, treat it like a 1000 watt HPS, 4 by 4 to 5 by 5 area, in which I would do either 5 plants, 4 plants, or 9 plants. If you do 9 plants, you do them, 3 rows like this, 3 by 3, and put them in just 3 little number 3 pots, which are technically like 2. What are those? I can't remember how many gallons they actually equal because medium to liquid is different. But yeah, so that's what I would do. Just small pots, basically. Let's see here. We got have you ever harvested with white hairs? Most are brown. Seems like some won't change. Yeah, there's always some white hairs. Like there's always new hairs growing. So you're never gonna get 100% orange hairs. So once about 75% of them are turning orange, then that's when it's getting close. Check my when to harvest video. It's under my free grow course. So I have a video on what to look for and when to know when to harvest. It can seem overwhelming at first, but it's pretty easy once you do a few grows and pay attention to what I talk about looking for. Michael asked, any experience using supplemental lighting such as UVA, UVB for red? So I've done a lot of different experiments with that. I was actually going to release a light that was the sunset light, which is deep reds, but I found that it didn't do anything to try to simulate the sunset. Did nothing at all for the plants. I do have UVA and UVB in my lights. I don't know if they do much of anything, honestly, but I do have that there in the full spectrum white lighting. I no longer do dedicated UVB in there because it just doesn't make a difference. You can always supplement if you want to, but I've done the experiments and it just doesn't make a difference, so I stopped doing it. But having some in there is obviously what I want because that's what the sun has. Patrick asked, for some reason, my super silver haze doesn't get me high at all. First grow, not sure why. Trichomes were about 60% amber, and I let it flower for 70 days. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe it just didn't grow right or something. Maybe it was just a bad, a bad strain or something, bad seed. I don't know. That's strange. Yeah. So let me go. I'm trying to catch up. Sorry, guys. Always get behind. I need someone here to help me. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see here. All right. So we're not doing Bible stuff. So how many times a week do I water my autos? I water every single day, 3 times a day with a drip system. If I do it by hand, I water at least once a day by hand, if not twice a day. So if you're going to grow outside with just tap water and you're not going to pH your water or anything, what I recommend doing is to use typical organic methods and then use organic lime in order to neutralize, the pH of your soil. So you want to just basically use more like a soil grow. Another thing you could do outdoors, though, like let's just say you just don't want to make batches of water and pH it, you can actually get, those things you screw onto your hose to spray like fertilizer or to spray pesticides and stuff. It's a container that hooks up to your hose, has a dial on it. I forget what it's called, but it has a dial system on it where you can adjust how much of that stuff is mixed into your water. So what you could do is you can just put a little bit of pH down inside of water and then put that up to your hose. And that way it's already diluted, and then it's diluted more with the hose water, and figure out how much of that it comes out to about 6.2. You have to fiddle with it a few times to get it to 6.2. But once you have those measurements, you'll always be able to get that 6.2 every single time. And then you hook that up to your hose and water with that. And that's an easy way to water with 6.2 water right from the hose. Yeah, anyway, so I just bought a Dwarf Star 3 weeks ago. Badass light, man. Thanks. And let's see here. So sometimes when I get too far behind, I'm going to have to like have you guys re-ask questions if I skipped you. I don't think I've ever actually tried the 13-hour of light method where I set my timer to exactly 13 hours. But I have simulated sunset where within that 12-hour window, the first part is just the deep reds, and then the last part is the deep reds. How did you cure that super silver haze? Do you mean, well, right now I'm growing a critical Novell haze by Delicious Seeds. We haven't started curing it because I haven't cut it down yet. The carnival, so my cure method, actually I cure everything the same, so I can just answer that question that way. If you go to my perfectsunled.com, click on the free grow course, and in the video course I show how I cure. I also teach how I cure in my book. My book is Grow Pot Cheaply. It's also on the website. $7 for the digital. Yeah. Let's see here. For an 8x4 grow tent, would a 600 watt HPS and a 1500 watt LED suffice? You can make that work. Yeah, like two lights side by side. It depends what kind that 600 watt LED is, though. That can make, or rather, hold on, 600 watt HPS. It depends what brand or because 1500 watts, that's a lot. I imagine it's not actually 1500 watts. I imagine that's what they're advertising it as. But most LED lights are shit, so you probably won't get as much off that side. Thoughts on seeds made accidentally from herm flower? It really depends on how it was made, on what, which pollen got to it. If I imagine if it's its own pollen, it's usually pretty stable, but you're still, like, I've noticed whenever that happens, those seeds are never as stable. If they're feminized, they're going to be feminized, so that part will be good. But sometimes the phenotype will be funky. It won't grow as you expect it. Like maybe 30% of the seeds will come out kind of weird. Yeah, most LEDs suck. That's why, Dave. My LEDs have a higher average PAR than HPS, which is why I use them. Average PAR is the only way to test what you can get out of a light. It's the only way to predict what the light is going to be able to yield for you. For example, the last carnival we just grew, which wasn't even trying to get a big yield out of it. It was just, I wanted to grow a plant and it got bigger than I thought, because I actually thought it was an autoflowers how it started. Anyway, so that plant yielded 2 pounds, and that was under poor conditions, no CO2, not even trying, getting light stress and everything. And that was under my Perfect Sun Max Yield. Any recommendations for PM resistant strains? I know that there's one by, I usually don't look for this because it's just not something I care about, because I grow indoors. I don't usually have to worry about that. What's that one by? Let me think about this for a second. I know, like in my head, I know I grew it a couple times. I like it. It's a good strain. I think it's Dr. Crippling's Incredible Bulk. I believe that's right. So that one's pretty resistant to everything. Skunk strains in general are pretty resistant, so that one's very skunk. A lot of skunk genetics in that strain. Let's see. What should my pH be in cocoa? I wouldn't really worry too much about what your runoff is or what the cocoa is. Just feed every day to runoff, and just feed with 5.8 every day to runoff. That's all you want to do. All right, hold on, I'm getting behind again. I got to try to catch up. I'm going to end up skipping some of you guys' questions, but just try to ask it again in a little bit. All right, so when germinating in Rockwell cubes in a humidity dome, how long should I let the seedling grow roots in the humidity dome from the seed? Well, I like to keep it in the humidity dome for about 10 days. So once you start seeing roots come out, just go ahead and transplant it. Bobby B says, bro, can you change a 1 to 2 month old plant in cocoa to organic nutrients and change the soil completely? I wouldn't do that. I definitely wouldn't change the soil completely. You're going to stress the shit out of that plant. But you could change nutrients if you wanted to. Just keep in mind, organic nutrients are typically a lot bigger, and so you need a living cocoa to handle that. So unless you already have a living cocoa, that is, you have microorganisms in the cocoa already, then I personally wouldn't switch unless you can find an organic nutrient that is already pre-broken down by enzymes. But if not, then yeah, you don't want to switch to cocoa, or you don't want to switch to organic. Check out my living cocoa organic video I posted not too long ago. So when I go by um, Jose Garza, I don't go by ppf or any of that stuff because all that stuff is useless. The only number that predicts how much a light can yield is what kind LED used to do. I don't know if they still do this. Is taking the average par. So what you do, and there are some machines that I try to simulate what the average par would be inside of a dome that it's like a big metal thing that tests for the average par. But the best way to do honestly is just hang the light from the light that it can grow at. So most lights that's 2 feet away, and then however much space it's supposed to cover. So if it's supposed to cover 4x4, then you take a 4x4 measurements and you measure 17 points of measurement in that 4x4 grid. Then you divide that by 17. That gives you the average par. So to give an example, a 1,000 watt HPS we know can produce 2.7 pounds. Any good grower can do that with the 1,000 watt HPS and the right strain. And that has an average par of 580. The 1,000 watt double-ended bulbs have an average par of 635. My Mega has an average par of 580, and my Max Yield has an average par of 640. So that's why they're respectively 1,000, 1,000 DE. No, you don't need a humidity dome, but humidity dome gives you the optimal, best, fastest root growth you can possibly have, because roots, when a plant first starts, the roots grow fastest, and the plant grows fastest when the humidity is high and the temperature is high. So you want like 80 degrees, even up to 90 degrees. I find 80, 85 degrees is perfect and great for a humidity dome. And you want the humidity to be high too, right around 80 degrees. You can even go to 90 degrees for that first 10 days. And that makes those roots just explode very quickly. It makes the plant grow very fast for that first 10 days. And with autos, every day counts. So, all right, let's see here. So to fight mites in flower, I recommend using something called 3-in-1 Organicide. That works really good. Also, you can use things like you can just spray the plant with water every day. Honestly, just spray it down really good with water. Not like a regular. It has to be like more powerful to like knock them off. You can also use a vacuum with that little fuzzy thing on I forget what that's called, but there's that little fuzzy tip thing where it's got all the little hairs coming out. You can use that to vacuum. If they get really bad, use that to vacuum as much off as possible. You can also use 4-in-1 milk to water ratio and spray with milk water every day. That also works for PM. Let's see here. Trying to catch up, sorry. How many plants do you recommend for 2 dwarf star lights or size tent? Well, 2 dwarf stars is basically going to cover a 6x3 area. That's how much you'd want to cover with it. So you just got to figure how many plants do you want to grow in that area. Like the answer is, it really depends on how you want to grow, what's your style of growing, and yeah. Just think about how you want to fill up that area. Like I would, in a 6x3 area, you can do it technically an 8x4 with those two, but you're not going to get you're not going to get a bigger yield by doing that. It just gives you more room to work with. And the most you want to do in a 4x4 area is like 9 plants, but unless you want to do some sort of sea of green or something. How much CalMag for autos? I'm using CalMag. So I do 3 milliliters per gallon for CalMag Plus. Hey, what's up? Is that I don't know if that's supposed to be Carlos grow time or Carlius. I'm not sure what that is, but what's up, man? No, there's no such thing as too wet when it comes to cocoa milk, man. I mean, unless you just don't have good drainage. That's the only possible way cocoa can get too wet. So you want cocoa to look wet. It should look wet. You shouldn't let it ever look dry on the top. It should always look dark and wet. That's how cocoa is supposed to look, because it's a hydroponic medium. So like I said, I water 3 times a day on a drip system. So it's constantly getting water, constantly wet. Yeah. So don't worry about it working wet. Don't treat it like soil. Forget all the stupid stuff you learn with soil. None of that applies to cocoa. Let's see here. trying to find the questions. Let's see here. What is the might say? Like, no, I don't go by numbers. It's pointless. Numbers are useless because potent. So there's strains like white rhino that always test at like 17%, 13%, but it's super stony. Almost everyone that smokes it says, "Dude, this is really good shit." So I don't go by those numbers anymore. They're stupid. But strains that people have smoked that I've grown that they're like, yeah, this one's really stony. For autoflowers would be things like the White and Bubbly and the Walter White by Mephisto Genetics was really good. Dutch Passions, Colorado Cookies, Fast Buds, Gorilla Glue. There's a bunch of others too, but those ones come to my mind right now. Like those three are ones that I know that I would always want to grow for that reason. So the only time you want to use sugar is if you're also using microorganisms. So if you put something like down to earth root zone, like let's say when you transplanted, you sprinkle the down to earth root zone all over the root zone area and you've kept them alive with sugar, that's when you want to use sugar, just to keep those alive and keep them happy so that the plant continues to produce more carbohydrates, which gives you a higher sugar content in the plant. This will happen naturally if you use organic methods, but if not, then you want to do that. And just feed sugar like once a week, every 3 days to once a week. You only need like 1 teaspoon of sugar, like a little tiny little bit of sugar, and when you water, like every 3 days to every 7 days. There's no other reason to use sugar, by the way, unless you're using living organisms like mycorrhizae and stuff to keep them alive. There's no other reason to do it. Where can you find legit Gorilla Glue number 4? Only from clone, most likely. I mean, there are seeds that sell, and they're claimed to be Gorilla Glue number 4, but it's not going to be the same as from getting a clone. So you just have to find someone locally that has clones. But there are, just check out like gyoseeds.com, and you can find all kinds of stuff. Just type in Gorilla Glue, and you'll see different kinds of Gorilla Glue. Let's see here. Sorry, trying to catch up with you guys. All right, I'm just going to let it scroll down. If it goes up, it goes up. It means I missed it. You got to re-ask the question later, in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, smoking any type of, putting hot smoke into your lungs is not healthy. That's true. I recommend, either eating your product or, I guess vaping would be the next best thing. That was a wave, by the way. Oh, that was my wife waving to you guys. Yeah, honestly, I found the best thing to go by that seems to be pretty consistent is what we did before there ever was test inside, like before there ever were dispensaries. We just went by, how does the bud look? If it looks super frosty, it's going to be really good. Like that never fails. I've never had a strain that was frosty as shit and wasn't stony. So that's all you have to go by. Just if it's frosty as shit, then buy it and smoke it, or grow it and smoke it. Okay, let's see here. Trying Chem Dog this year. Awesome. You can grow autos outside. They grow outside just fine. How to dose Epsom salt. So if you use Epsom salt, you only need about a teaspoon inside your 5 gallons of water. You can do more, but I found a teaspoon's fine. You can also just sprinkle it on top, like every 3 to 4 days. If you're watering every single day, every 3 to 4 days, you can sprinkle a little bit of Epsom salts on the top of your plant, no more than a teaspoon. I wouldn't use Epsom salt every day if you feed by hand, just every 3 days. It's like sugar, every 3 to 7 days. Unless you use a really small amount of it, then you can do it daily. Hey, what's up, Goliath Grower? Your new light working out good? Hopefully so. Ronnie, shout out to Ronnie Cushman. Thank you. I've been watching for a long time. Thanks for all the tips and tricks. Hey man, I appreciate that. Makes a difference when people thank me. Really does. Like I like when I go to a YouTube video and I see like comments, just saying, yo man, thanks, I appreciate it. They're like, makes me feel good. It's worth it. Like that kind of feedback to me is worth it alone. Because I don't make any money off of my channels. I don't get monetization at all. So hey Neil, will autos finish soon under 24-hour light? I think you mean will they finish sooner? And they could finish sooner. I don't know if it's gonna be worth the extra electricity. Hey, what's up, Ed OG Haze? So yeah, thrips are a real pain in the ass. You need to spray the plant every day with something like 3-in-1 organicide or using some type of neem oil or something. You want to spray, make sure all the under leaves get sprayed really good every day. Put up a bunch of sticky shit everywhere. Man, thrips are a pain in the ass. They're one of the worst things to get. Put a layer of sand or gnatnix on top of your plant as well. Makes it harder for them to put anything or lay eggs or anything. Hey, what's up, Crackling? So organics, I still do flush, yeah. Just the same flash flush I do all the time, where I do a flash flush and then feed just water for 3 days. Or right now, what we're doing is we're feeding CalMag Plus and liquid seaweed. That's how we're flushing her. So just CalMag Plus and liquid seaweed. Remember, this is an organic grow, so CalMag Plus, liquid seaweed. We've been doing that for like 8 days or something like that. She's ready to come down. Just got to get around to doing it. Do you ever charge your cocoa bricks with CalMag when you first bust open a brick? Whenever I first water, I like to water with extra CalMag and cocoa. So, but no, I don't pre-charge it. But I water before I put the plant in. So I do one watering with CalMag and whatever I'm going to water with, and I water that through really well before I transplant the plant. And then I water again. So basically, I make my batch of nutrients and I water the cocoa with no plant in it before I transplant. That helps it get all the nutrients in there and flush everything out. Get it ready to transplant. Let's see. I'm not sure why that one was held for review. I'll go ahead and accept it. I'm trying to catch up, sorry. Let's see here. Oh yeah, real quickly. So I'm thinking about starting a Twitch channel. I mean, I already have a Twitch channel. I've never streamed on there, I don't think yet. But it's my same name is here, Grow Pot Cheaply. But I do hang out. I do hang out on Twitch and watch like retro gaming and stuff, like Mike Matei and a few others I watch here and there. So I am thinking about streaming on Twitch. I'm pretty sure they allow this kind of stream on Twitch. So I might start doing the live shows on Twitch. I like the Twitch environment better. It's just cool. I like how it works. So I might start doing that. So what do you guys think? How many of you guys use Twitch? Yeah, I just want to get you guys' feedback on that. I like the Twitch community. It's pretty cool. Don R, I do have a video on how to make dabs, but YouTube really looks down upon that kind of stuff. And so I had to treat that video very carefully, and I got a lot of shit for it. So I probably won't be making any more videos like that, but I do have one on there that managed not to get taken down. So, and let's see here. How many lumens? This was Manev Wadi. How many lumens do you receive at your canopy? I use the lumens meter because it's all I can afford. Hence the question, is 30,000? No, 30,000 is not enough. You want to be like around 80,000 at the top. So if your light is not producing 80,000, it's a piece of shit. Yeah, you want 80,000 at the top of your canopy. Honestly, I think plants don't like super high temperature unless it's a strain that naturally grows in that kind of environment. Where, like, in other words, if it's advertised to want high temperature, then I wouldn't grow. I try to keep my temperature at 80 degrees or below. I mean, 85 is fine if I can't control it, but I like to keep my temperature 80 or below, regardless of whatever I'm growing with, whether it's HPS or whether it's LED. So most dense, largest nugs possible really just comes down to everything. So my entire grow process, just grab my book or go watch my free grow course at perfectsunled.com. I should probably copy and paste that. Hold on a second. Because I don't have anyone helping me here. So what I should do, just go like that, copy. That way I can just paste it every now and again when people ask questions. What's the biggest fabric grow pot I should use? 5 gallon and less. It depends how many plants you want to grow, how big you want them. Right now I got a 14 gallon, but I have a monster 6.5 foot plant. So it really depends how big you want your plant. You can kind of control the size of your plant by the size of the pot you grow it in. Let's see here. Trying to catch up. All right, cool. I think I'm all caught up now. I just got to see what the new people are saying here. Yeah, and also, yeah, Jose is right. The strain does matter with denseness. So anything that's more Afghan or indica is going to give you a denser bud, and anything more sativa is typically going to give you a more loose nug structure. It really has to do with how they grow in nature. So how sativa is a plant that is learned to survive higher temperatures and or higher humidity, and they do that by opening up all their glands, which allows more airflow, so they don't get like powdery mildew and stuff. It's a survival mechanism, and so that's why you get sativa landrace strains in places like Thailand and Hawaii and stuff like that, because they're hotter and they're more humid areas that the plant's trying to survive in. Whereas indica tends to grow in places that are more dry, and they can be hot actually. Afghan is at a hot, dry climate, but typically it's cooler and dry. But it's mostly the humidity that makes the biggest difference. Which is why trying to get my humidity too high in flower, because you want it. That's one trick to keep your buds dense, is control your humidity in flower. So get a dehumidifier if you have to, and keep your humidity at 55 and below. But you don't want to really go below 35 either. Yeah, I water my plants and cocoa every day, Minnie. Right now, because we're organic, we're doing it by hand. So one time a day, sometimes twice a day if it needs it. We water 5 gallons at a time. It's a big pot. 5 gallons at a time every day. Pure Butterfly Spirit says, "Hey, grow pot cheaply. I'm Pure Butterfly, although I am 99% white." Okay, I'm not gonna read the rest of that. Don't care. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Man, I get some crazy ass people in chat sometimes. It's funny, crazy people. Like, why did you come here to tell me that? Like, why? I don't care. Yo, man, I'm 99%. Wait, hold on. Yo, man, I'm 95% white, but I identify as black due to having 1% African DNA, which has been tested. You might be making a joke, out of that whole new, out of that new thing where, people can identify however they want to. They want to identify female, they can, even if they have a big old dick. And maybe that's what you're making fun of, the PC and that kind of like culture and the LGBT culture that like want to pretend that there's something they're not, and everyone accepts it. Let's see here. How big of a plant is a 60-day auto? Can you grow it with a 5-gallon container or planter? Yeah, of course you can. You can grow it in a cup if you want to. You can literally grow a plant in a cup, like you drink out of. And I've done that actually. I used a bunch of Dixie cups. I grew a bunch of autoflowers. They just grew like one little stem with buds all over it. And actually, the biggest one I got was an ounce dry, a full ounce off of a little Dixie cup. One of those little red Dixie cups. You drink beer out of, whatever. I couldn't believe it. I got a full ounce off of her. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Kind of a fun experiment if you've never done it before. Grow out of cups. So honestly, what I'd recommend with a light mover is only moving it 1 foot. I found that to be the best. Um, I've covered 8x4 with 1000 hps, but a double-ended bulb, and it does pretty good. You can still get a decent yield out of that area. It makes it like if you're trying to get the maximal amount of yield per area, then you don't want to use a light mover at all. And if you do, only move it 1 foot. But if you don't really care about how much you're getting out of the area, you just want to make it easier on yourself, then you can cover an 8x4 with it by moving it like 3 feet back and forth, and then you just space your plants out more. You have more room to work with. You're still going to only get like 2 pounds out of that 8x4 area, but it just makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to cram everything together. But if you want to maximize area per yield, then only move it 1 foot back and forth and cover a 4x4 per 1000 watt HPS. That's the only way to get the best yield per area. But you don't have to use the light mover. The light mover is only necessary if you have ceiling height issues. So, and that's actually another thing I thought about. I don't know why I didn't mention this in this last video I'm about to post soon. If you're growing with a max yield and you have height issues, or if you're growing with a mega and you have height issues, just put on a mover and move it like 2 feet back and forth or 1 foot back and forth. That's to prevent your plants from getting burned. You can keep them a foot away from the light without burning, just by using the light mover. So, but I'll only do that if you have short ceilings and you have to do it. Like that's the only option. Yeah, the lag seems pretty good right now, or the latency, whatever. Hey, what's up, Stone 420? Defoiling autos, Josh. I'm cool with it. I usually defoilate at least a little bit. I don't totally strip it down. I only like to do like at the most 10 leaves at a time, and wait every 3 days before I do it again. Because you really want autos to have the least amount of stress as possible. I only remove the leaves that I feel absolutely necessary to remove. I don't just do it because. Little Red, big smile. What are your best suggestions for growing from seed in an RV with no power? Any advice would be appreciated. I just want to grow my own meds and don't have proper, no power. Well, you have to use the sun, right? I guess that's your only option. So, yeah, that's going to be a hard one in an RV using the sunlight. I don't know if you have one of those sunroofs or something that might help. If not, maybe just set up a little shed outside, a little grow, not shed, but a little grow tent outside the house. Not a grow tent. What am I talking about? The see-through shit outside. The fucking, my brain's not working. You know what I'm talking about? Greenhouse thing, yeah. So, what nutrients? Let's see here. What nutrients? Where did that go? I just saw it. Damn it! Where did that fucking line go? That question. I just saw it. Oh, there you go. What nutrients would you recommend as a must-have? Your baseline nutrient is the only must-have. Well, and CalMag Plus if you're growing in cocoa. That's it. That's the only must-haves. So a good rounded base nutrient. So Cycloflower A and B, grow and bloom. CalMag Plus, that's all you need to grow. Literally, you don't need anything else. If you want to, make sure that your buds get as big as possible, use a good PK boost and use it pretty much as directed, but half strength. I'm not sure, Jesse, how you clone your autos. I mean, I know they can be cloned, but the clones are going to be just as old as the mother, so I don't get how that's going to work out. You only be able to do that one time because they're going to flower at the same time the mother flowers. Let's see here. All right, so I missed some people. You have to re-ask your question because it keeps scrolling up. So I haven't used mega crop nutrients. Yeah, I'm still going auto. So right now we're finishing off the photo period. That's going to be coming down in the next couple of days. We just got to find the time to do it. Once that comes down, we're going to put up more autos and another photo period. Once the autos are done, the photo period will be nice and big and vegged for a while, and then we're going to we'll flower that out and finish it off. That's how we're doing it for now. So basically the exact same thing we did this last grow. We started autos. We had one photo period. Photo period got big while the autos finished. Autos cut down. 12-12 to finish off the photo. Start over again. Good day, Neil from New Zealand. Are you still? Oh, sorry, I just read that one. Yeah, I'm still going autos. Okay, sorry about that. Just read that one. So on a light mover, how close would you put the dwarf star from the canopy at seedling, veg, then flower? Well, during seedling and veg, I would probably keep it like 2 feet away. It depends how far you're moving it back and forth. That's a big factor. If you're moving it back and forth like 2 feet, like the stoppers are 2 feet apart, then maybe like 2 feet away. During flower, get as close as you can without light stressing. So that's probably, almost touching the plants, just about 6 inches to a foot away. So this is actually a good question, Sharon Meyer. Does Psycho flower have PGRs? There's platinum baseline nutrients do not have PGRs, which is plant growth type stimulators and stuff and hormones. They do sell a product. This is where the confusion comes. They do sell a product specifically called Psycho Flower A and B, and that is exactly PGRs. That's what it advertises on the bottle. That's what it is. And so, yeah, you don't want to grow that, but that's not their baseline nutrient. That's specifically a plant growth stimulator for that reason. But if you buy their Platinum Series Psychoflower A and B, that does not have PGRs in it. Yeah, I've had fungus gnats before. They're really easy to get rid of, Adam. All you do is get either gnat nicks or sand and put like an inch on top of your plants, and about 2 weeks later, they're all gone. Because the thing is, it acts like a layer of like a glass barrier, and the gnats can't get down into it, so they lay their eggs and the eggs die. And anything that's inside the plant, when the larva tries to come up out of the plant, they die too. So it takes about 2 weeks and they're all dead. Yeah, I haven't tried duck to try to get them to re-veg, but that seems like a big waste of time. I don't get why I'd want to try to re-veg an autoflower. But in my head, I was thinking like the only way I can think to try to do that would be to try to get the clone to re-veg or something. But yeah, I just don't see the point. John asked, do I have any new lights coming out? As of right now, no. So the Max Yield, the Mega, Dwarf Star, Mini. I am considering a bar light only because people with ceiling heights, that's where a bar light really comes in handy. Because the bar light, and I've been testing bar lights now for, matter of fact, I've been working on a bar light, different bar light designs since the very first light I ever came out with. It's always something I wanted to do. I think it's a really cool idea. And I've come up with a couple of different designs that work really well, that have super high average par, like the Max Yield, but because the light's more dispersed, you can get the light much closer. In fact, one of the designs, you can get the plant within like 4 to 5 inches away from the light without burning them, but it still penetrates a good 2 to 3 feet into the plant with super high average par. So you can still get that, that 2 to 3 pound mark with the light only using about, 650 watts or so. But the only people only way I don't know, the only people I imagine that would use that would be people that have ceiling height issues. So if you had like only 5 foot tall ceilings or something, that would really come in handy. Sorry, just trying to catch up and reading. Well, I drip feed whenever I'm doing. So I like to drip feed when I'm doing psychoflower nutrients. But if I'm doing organics, so right now we're doing organics, so it doesn't work good in the drip feed. It clogs up your pumps and stuff really fast. So we feed by hand right now. But once this next grow, I'm going back to psychoflower, so it'll be back to drip feeding. It's just much easier to be on a drip feed. You just fill up a big container every week or so, and it does the rest for you. What causes, I think that's canoeing. Is that how you spell canoeing? What causes canoeing in outdoor grow? So mainly what causes the you're talking about tacoing of the leaves when the leaves start going like that. The main thing that causes that to happen is going to be heat stress. So it's too hot outside for the plant. The plant doesn't like the light yet, or the plant's still young and it's trying to adjust to the power of the sun. So use a shade cloth or something. That's usually the case. So sometimes it can be, CalMag issues, but usually it's a heat issue and or humidity issue if your humidity is getting too high. Let's see here. Sorry, trying to avoid everything. Yeah, max yield. I don't know if I'm ever going to beat the max yield. In all honesty, the max yield is such. I can't believe that with 640 watts, I was able to pull off 640 average par. That's absolutely insane. It actually beats a 1,000 watt double-ended bulb, which is just crazy. I never thought that would be possible with that little of watts. I knew it's possible. I just didn't think I'd be able to do it with 640 watts. So it's insane. I'm not sure if I'll ever beat that light as far as for how many watts. I can always beat it by using more watts, but what's the point? The whole point of LEDs is to use less watts. If I'm going to use the same amount of watts, I guess, I can make a light that would just like use 1,000 watts, but just have a crazy amount of average par. But most people can't get 3 pounds out of a 4x4 area anyway. So I don't see the point. Like that light is pretty much as strong as anyone's ever going to be able to use, unless someone can, figure out a grow method to get, 5 pounds out of a 4x4 area. It's at that point, it's hard to get any more out of that area outside of having side lighting or something, which is why the sun's awesome because it gives light from every direction. Yeah, I would like to see the re-vegging autos thing. How long does it take for them to re-veg? How long does it take for the new clone to actually give you yield? How big of yield does the clone give you when you do that re-vegging? Be interesting to see. I have a feeling it's a big waste of time though. I mean, I guess if you're just trying to save money on seeds, but I have a feeling it's a waste a lot of time versus just throwing out seeds every 30 days and getting big fat yields every 30 days or something. Let's see here. Best LED light with the cheapest price. Honestly, like I don't trust anything else out there except for my LEDs. Like if I thought there was something better to grow with, that's what I'd be growing with. And my lights are pretty fairly priced for what they do. But if I had to use some cheap light, I wouldn't use LED. I would use HPS. HPS is your best light for the price. You can't beat it. 600 watt HPS, great light, big yields. You probably aren't going to max that light out until you start getting better at growing. And then you can bump up to 1,000 watt HPS and so forth. So what's the max you can yield from 3,000 watts? It depends what light the 3,000 watts is, Lamar. So if that's HPS and you have 1,000 watt per every 4x4 area, you can easily pull 2 pounds per light. That's 3 lights. That's 6 pounds. You can get more than that actually, but that'd be a good goal for a good grower. Let's see here. If you're, I don't know. It looks like you might be asking someone else, but if you're asking me about what book you can read, just check out my website, perfectsunled.com, and go to my free grow course, and I also have a book there, $7 for the digital book. I have not heard of biodiesel nutrients. No, there's a lot of stuff I haven't heard of because I don't look at it. I don't try to find new nutrients to use. I like Psychoflower. It's awesome medical grade stuff, so that's what I use. But if I ever happen to come across something that's maybe better priced, and I'm not sure you can get better than Psychoflower. I think they pretty much reached the pinnacle of how good you can get. But maybe if someone does the same thing for cheaper and localized or something, like especially if it's something where I live in Oregon, I'd rather support a local company. So, yeah. let me see here. Little Red says, can a germinated seed planted in soil survive without 24 hours of light? Just curious. Well, of course it could survive, but it's like, can a human survive without water for 3 days? Probably. You're really pushing the limit there. Most humans will probably die, but it could happen. Are you going to have a healthy plant? No. Plants need light. That's their food. That's how they produce energy. Let's see here. So consider the longer life of LED over HPS and the fact that they come in cheaper than HPS. If you can find an LED that's cheaper than HPS, because a 600 watt HPS system by like Apollo or by iPower or one of these more generic brands, which work great, I've grown with them, only costs like $180 for the whole setup. That's your hood, the ballast, the digital ballast, and the light, everything you need to start growing light wise, all for 180 bucks. If you can buy an LED that claims to do what a 600 watt HPS can for under 180 bucks, then you're buying snake oil. I guarantee it won't do it. I absolutely guarantee it will not happen. Just buy the HPS, man. Save yourself the headache. Because otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to get one of these cheap ass LEDs. You're going to start growing, and you're going to wonder, why can I not grow shit? Why is my plant so small? Why am I not getting these big yields? It's because you're growing with shit. You got to have light. Without light, everything else is pointless. So just do yourself a favor. Start with HPS if you can't afford a good LED. No, nothing needs 24 hours of light. I misunderstood your question, I guess, Little Red. No, you don't want to give your plants 24 hours of light. So yeah, just the sunlight is enough. Now, if you're trying to grow a photoperiod, then it's not going to flower until until the sun starts to become less, about 14 hours of sun a day. So right around now. Well, not yet, right around August or so. But once the sun starts getting less and less, the plant will naturally flower. However, if you're growing autoflowers, you can pretty much throw them out any time of the year. So, and whatever sunlight they get, and they'll get as big as they can. So I don't use drippers. I actually just go right out of the 1/4-inch tubing. That's how I feed. So I bypass drippers altogether, and I just have it come right out of the 1/4-inch tubing. And I just do that for 5 to 10 seconds for 2 times out of the day, and then the third time for like 20 seconds. And if you want to make an actual dripper with the 1/4-inch tubing, it's really easy. Just use the T connectors to make a loop, have a few T connectors come out. Voila, you're done. Doesn't ever get clogged, works great. I hated trying to keep the drippers from clogging all the time. Let's see here. Is there a true difference between 12-12 and 11-13? No, there's not. Every commercial grower does 12-12 because it's easy and it works. But you can try 11-13. It works. It's not like it doesn't, but. Do I inoculate my soil with extra microIZ? If I'm growing, I don't grow in soil. Even when I grow outdoors, well, I guess outdoors sometimes I do grow in soil, but it's usually always a coco-based soil, and either stuff I make myself or stuff I buy. When I grow outside, like my vegetables and stuff outside, I like to grow in soil because I like the whole organic thing for my food. It just makes it easier when you're doing a lot of stuff outdoors. And then in that case, yeah, I use down to earth root zone. So down to earth root zone has everything in it. It has your microIZs, it has your beneficial bacterias, and one other thing, I forget what it's called though, another beneficial microbe. My light schedule for autos is 18 hours every day. Hey, what's up? G27 from United Kingdom. Shout out. Yeah, CMH is good. It's a good compromise to HPS. It uses less electricity and can give about, it can give about equal yields. Well, yeah, of course, HPS has a shorter lifespan than LED, but not only the bulb. Bulbs are $20, dude. So yeah, you're buying a new bulb every year for $20. You know how long that's going to take to meet the price of an LED? Quite a long time, many years. It'll take many years before an LED pays for itself. Well, I mean, that's just light bulb price. You got to consider the watts and all that kind of stuff. Like if you go with my Perfect Sun Mega, for example, which uses only 540 watts, and you can bust out 2.7 pounds in a 4x4 area over and over and over again, that will pay for itself a lot faster because you're saving on electricity, you're saving on bulbs, and you're busting out the same weight you would if you're using 1,000 watt HPS. So yeah, but cheap LEDs is what I'm talking about. Cheap LEDs are shit. They don't produce. They just don't. There's a reason why they're so cheap, because they don't have light in them. All right, so let's try to catch up here again. All right, let's see here. Grow Prodigy says, oh man, I already scrolled up on me. Damn it. Grow Prodigy says, how many milliliters per gallon to use for CalMag in your cocoa? I use 3 milliliters per gallon. 3 milliliters per gallon. So I don't buffer cocoa. I just feed it. But for the living organics, for the living cocoa, I describe all that in my video. So just please check that out. If you want to buffer it all, you can do that. But I talk about that in the video. Let's see here. Trying to catch up to everyone here. All right, it's scrolling too much again. I'm just gonna have to skip, and you have to re-ask if I missed you on accident. Should I make? So Milkman says, should I make sure the pH is right after I add all my nutrients and then check it, right? I think what you're asking is when to check the pH. Yeah, after you add all your nutrients. What's the best way to flush organic without killing the living soil? Well, at that point, it doesn't matter because you're about to cut the plant down. So who cares if the living soil dies? But if you for some reason you want to treat it as nice as possible, then just do a regular, less ppms. So what I recommend doing is reduce your watering, not to just pure water, but to only water with some liquid seaweed. And that's going to get the plant to yellow up and everything on you, and it's going to make it taste really good. So yeah, just reduce your watering to CalMag and liquid seaweed only. If you're doing living soil, you probably don't need the CalMag, so just liquid seaweed, and do that for like 10 days, and then you're good to go. Let's see here. I don't know if where I live right now is technically, I guess it's kind of a valley, because you have that whole coast of Oregon, basically. Well, you have the coast, and then you have all the living where everyone lives. Like Oregon's like this big, everyone lives right here. Like hardly anyone lives in the rest. Most of Oregon is all farmland. Like no one lives there. Like you find little towns with like 10 people in it, whatever. It's a little bit of exaggeration, but most people live right here, and it's kind of a valley, I guess. All right, let me try to catch up to everyone again. Sorry, it's just keeps going by so fast. If I was gonna do a sea of green right now with autos, I would do something by Fast Buds. I'd probably do Fast Buds Gorilla Glue because it's really easy to grow short and small. It doesn't like a lot of light. It actually doesn't like a lot of light, so that it's perfect for that. Well, that's a good idea, Stone. Or actually, you know what? Let's do something really quickly here. So I'm going to start all over. I'm not going to read anything else that's been typed for right now. So if you typed a question a second ago, I want you to retype it. But here's what I want you to do. Make it easier for me. I don't know why I didn't do this before. So to make it easier on me, if you have a question, start your question like this. All right, so start your sentence like that. Well, not 2 S's. So type question in all caps and then type your question. That way I can see questions very easily. So I don't have to try to find the questions among the chat, because a lot of people are also chatting. I just don't want to have to try to find the questions. So yeah, if you can do me that favor, just type question all caps Yeah. Or maybe that's a good idea too. Maybe like, I guess you can just do like that too. So either one of those, either 3 @ signs or question is fine. What is the best